Welcome back. I'm Dylan with Beamer Tech. Behind me is an F55 Mini that's going to be getting our complete Alpha 1 speaker upgrade. Follow us for a step-by-step tutorial on how to get these speakers installed in your Mini. For more information about compatible speakers with your ride, head over to our website www.beamer-tech.net and enter your VIN so you can find the speakers for your car. And for more tutorials and videos like this, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss any of the future upcoming videos. Let's get started with the installation.
Here are the tools you'll need for the job. First, we'll start with the mids in the doors. Start by removing the two T20 Torx screws at the base of the panel. We're going to show you the passenger side for this installation, but the driver side is identical. Next, using a Beamer Tech trim tool and your fingers, remove the window switch cover and pull the connector out. Remove the single Torx 20 screw located here. With a trim tool, remove the access panel behind the door handle and remove the single Torx 20 screw underneath. There is one last Torx 20 screw behind the cover on the side of the door. You can easily remove it with your fingers. Using your hands and trim tools, pop the panel off. It could be tight, but it's only held in with clips. Once free, remove the door handle cable. Create some slack on the main harness by unfeeding it through the locators and gently set it down. Unrouting the whole harness is a pain, and we don't need to do that. Disconnect the speaker and remove the three Torx 20 screws holding the bracket to the door. We need to reroute the harness, so it's easier to do it this way. Remove the three Torx 20 screws holding the speaker to the bracket and place in the Alpha 1 speaker. Carefully pull the vapor barrier back and tuck the factory speaker connector behind it, feeding it to the hole for the speaker. Pull it as tight as you can and press the vapor barrier back in place. Plug the mini harness into the Alpha 1 speaker and screw the bracket back into place. Reroute the harness in the door panel, reconnect the handle cable, and snap the panel back in place. Replace the Torx 20 screw under the switch assembly, then reconnect and replace the switch assembly. Do the same with the door handle screw and panel. Finally, replace the side screw and cover and the bottom two screws.
So we're done with the mid, and as you can see, that was super simple. We're gonna move on to the tweeter now in the A-pillar, which is also just as easy. But to make it easier to get this panel out, first thing we're gonna do is remove this molding. Grab here and pull. Now on with remover of the A-pillar and tweeter.
Once the molding is out of the way, pull the A-pillar panel away from the car, and once the pins disconnect, pull the A-pillar panel up and out. Disconnect the tweeter harness and make sure to remove the plastic pins and place them back in the trim for reassembly later. Carefully remove the stock tweeter by applying upwards pressure on the tweeter while simultaneously gently pulling back the tabs holding it in place. Once removed, snap the Alpha 1 tweeter in place and tidy everything up. To reinstall the A-pillar trim, plug the tweeter in and make sure the plastic pins are in place like so. Once you have cleaned up the wiring, snap the trim back in place and stick the molding back in place as well.
All right, now that that's done, the last thing to do up front is the sub. So we're gonna unbolt the seat and get our Alpha 1 sub in place.
Remove the 4 bolts holding the seat in place with a Torx 50 bit and a ratchet. Move the seat as you need to. If you have power seats, you'll need to briefly reconnect your battery to accomplish this. Tilt the seat back to expose the sub grille and remove the 4 Torx 20 screws holding it in place. You might need a 90-degree tool depending on how much room you have. Once the grille is removed, remove the 4 silver Torx 20 screws holding the sub down. After the screws are out, use something like a small screwdriver to pry the speaker up, and once exposed, unplug the connector. Plug in the Alpha 1 sub and reinstall all the screws and the grille the opposite way you took them out.
Now that the sub is connected and the grille is in place, we've gone ahead and lowered the front seat, and we're going to retighten all 4 bolts using our T50 Torx bit. And now that we're done with those speakers, let's move on to Chaz, who's going to be doing the rear speakers and the center speakers in the dash.
All right, now let's get things rolling. So we'll get things started by removing the speaker cover and then removing the T20 Torx screws holding in both the tweeter and mid-range speaker. At which point, you'll disconnect both speakers. All right, now that we got the old speakers out, we're ready, and now we can install the new Alpha 1. We'll start by securing the tweeter and then adding in the crossover, which will plug into both the Alpha 1 mid-range and the factory harness. Once you secure down the mid-range speaker, you can put the grille back in place. Now that the center speakers are done, we can move on to the back door. With a pry tool, you can remove the access cover that'll reveal a T20 Torque screw that you'll need to remove. Next, we'll remove this window switch using another pry tool, and then unplugging it, which will allow us to have access to another T20 Torque screw. One last T20 Torque screw at the bottom of the door panel, and then we can start prying the door panel away. Once we pop off the panel, you can go ahead and remove the door latch and pop out any remaining cabling that is connected to the door. You'll notice the tweeter that we'll be removing from the door is actually connected to the mid-range. You can unplug that, remove the rest of the cabling, set the door panel aside, and it'll move on to the mid-range speaker. We'll disconnect the main speaker harness, and then remove the 3 T20 Torque screws that are holding the speaker in place. Set the speaker aside, grab the crossover cable and plug it into the main harness. The longer cable will be labeled mid-range. That will plug into the new Alpha 1 speaker. You'll notice on the outer edge of the speaker there's a little notch where the cable will feed through when you're securing it back in place. Now we'll screw the speaker back on, dress the cabling on the door, and move on to the tweeter. Working our way around the edges of the tweeter using a small pry tool, we'll gently pry away at the clips holding it in place while keeping tension on the end of the cabling. This will ensure that you get to pop the speaker out without any problems. Now you can grab your Alpha 1 tweeter and just pop it into place. Once you got the cables dressed in and out of the way, you can go ahead and put the door panel back on. Working in reverse order, we'll plug everything back in place and put the cable clips back where we found them, making sure to plug the tweeter in place. It might be a little tricky if you don't have an extra hand, but I think you guys can handle it. Reattach the door latch cable and realign it back to where it was before. Carefully line up the door pins, then you can clip it back into place. Then, you'll grab your T20 Torque screws you removed, put them back on, Replace the covers, reconnect the window switch, pop that in place, and you're good to go.
And that is how you install BeamerTech's Alpha 1 speakers in your F55 Mini. Very straightforward and easy process. To find speakers compatible with your Mini, BMW, Rolls-Royce, or Supra, head on over to our website www.beamer-tech.net and enter your VIN, and you will be presented with a list of compatible speakers for your ride. For more information and tips and tricks about Minis and BMWs and how BeamerTech can help you with your ride, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and don't forget to ring that bell. Thanks for watching.